Welcome back to the channel, y'all. So today we have another updated Technomancer in-game guide. And it's been a little while, a couple weeks since I've done this. My build has changed, I have new favorite mods, and I wanted to put it together in a video for you guys. So if you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing, tick that bell so you do not miss any future build videos in your sub box. And we're going to start with the weapons. Now, a few things have changed with the recent patch and update. Embalmer's Rage is still a great option. I'm a big fan of it. It works great for controller users. And it has a place, and I still am a big fan of it for solos, but I found that now that I've stepped into kind of a carry role with the live stream and helping with Eye of the Storm completions, that it doesn't necessarily cut it in trios, and it tends to fall off when you start adding more teammates in because of damage scaling, and because of that, I am now Team Killing Spree. Sorry, it's kind of how it is. But Embalmer's Rage is still a great solo option. It's still great even for trios. I just need that extra punch for the bosses and alphas when I'm doing harder activities, and that's why I opted into Killing Spree. If not that, another great option is Dark Sacrifice. A lot of people are loving it because it gives you higher numbers. It feels more rewarding, but it also has drawbacks. I'm not a fan of it personally, but it's definitely worth mentioning if you have an optimized, strong, and solid build. For the secondary mod, there's some really good sets here. We have Gravedigger's Frenzy, which I feel isn't active a lot, but when it does, my goodness, does it not definitely speed up the run, and it definitely makes up for it. Another great option would be Anomaly Enhancement for your Tier 2 mod, or even what I've been using is Damage Link, which is pretty solid as well, because I don't think it works the way they describe it, and there's different ways it works. It's just, you'd have to use it to understand. So there's about 3 or 4 really solid Tier 2 options there. Now for the helmet right here, I am using, through all 5 pieces, the top 3 attributes are Firepower, Close Range Damage, and Long Range Damage. I'm using Sharp Eye and Bloodlust. Now, these are 2 of the most essential DPS options in the game, and they are 2 of the 3 stacking options that do really great and synergize well. The third option is Crit Stack, which I have on the chest piece right here, and as you can see, between crit shots and kills, we've got a lot of stacks generated, therefore a lot of additional burst and damage. So once you get those streaks running, you are so powerful. I put on Critical Analysis right here. Just a bit of flexibility, especially if you're running like an armor-piercing build, but you can use Plate Piercer, which comes with about 10% crit hit damage if you need be, but if you're using something like the Amber Vault, it'll bump you up. Not only are you going to get that 30% armor piercing from the Amber Vault, but you'll get an additional 25% crit hit damage from that Armor Piercer mod, and that is pretty big. So there's some flexibility for this mod. Put on whatever you want. I also do not personally run a defensive mod anymore. I'll explain why here in a second. So if you are working on a build and you want to put a defensive mod in somewhere, I would sacrifice Critical Analysis personally, and I would put in whatever defensive mod I want to use. Now for the pants, I am using Kingslayer. Again, I am not the most satisfied with this one. 32,000 firepower is huge, and you need to train yourself to lead with critical shots on elites, because it's not just shooting elite grants you 32,000 for only 6 seconds. It has to be a crit. And any shot after that is going to be 32,000 more firepower generated, whether or not they're crits or body shots. So you definitely want to learn to use this properly. Toxic Lead gives us permanent uptime on our Blighted rounds and is a must-have staple for this build. If you don't have Toxic Lead yet, I recommend Trick Up the Sleeve, which is a Tier 1 mod. For the gloves, I've got Euthanizer and Radical Therapy. They do work together. Respectively, 25% more damage against enemies afflicted by Toxic, and Therapy gives you 15% more, totaling 40%. For the boots, I've got Captain Hunter. This is, again, another key component to DPS builds, whether or not you're going Anomaly or Firepower. 25% more damage to elites is massive. Whether or not you're doing solos, duos, or trios, huge numbers. Dum Dum Bullets, because why not? Assault weapon damage by 10%, and that's what I build around with my assault rifles right here. For the skills, Blighted rounds are the source of your DPS. They're really going to make you more powerful, spread the poison around, and really just have insane killing power. Cold Snap can be used offensively or defensively. There's some other options out there, but I'm not a big fan of them. And Blighted Turret is a source of recovery, distraction, and crowd control, but also a form of buff for your team and yourself. And I like to use the Blighted Turret because not only is it a distraction by some of the enemies, but it also works in a kind of panic situation as well. A lot of people are like, oh, Pwn, how did you heal when you were running away? I often, if I am overwhelmed by enemies, I'll throw it on the ground and run away, and that Blighted Turret will regenerate my health for me until I'm confident back to full health, and then I'll turn on the pack of enemies chasing me and melt them. So, just a little pro tip for you guys. Now, the tree is kind of a standard tree. There's a little bit of flexibility here. Some people tend to opt out of the weapon leech and go for a little bit of health, but in my opinion, at the end of the day. If you're going to die, you're going to die, and that's not really going to help you. I'm going through here. You're going to build up toxic and vulnerability, 40% more damage to vulnerable targets, 20% more there at the cost of 15% more received. We get 50% mag capacity right here. Because I'm using assault weapons, I am going to go ahead and use these. I also have assault weapon here. Now, if you want to mix it up and use rifles, you can go to the sniper adept and take this one instead of this one, and you can go that way. And ultimately empowering antenna. So activating a decay skill increases weapon damage for you and your allies by 40% for 10 seconds. Now, blighted does not need cooldown. We don't need these things because it's naturally on a 7 or 8 second cooldown on its own. So that's permanent 40% uptime throughout the entire duration as long as you're spamming it after the cooldown is upped for just you and your allies. Blighted rounds obviously is going to be up permanently, but fortunately that turret is on a very generous cooldown, and that's the build. So as you saw, I was not wearing any defensive mods, and yes, that's by design. I know a lot of people are going to question this, and you guys are going to be like, what are you doing? We just lost emergency stance. Where is your protection? I got 4 kids. I don't know anything about it. So, truth is, when I die, I feel like I get erased. And emergency stance really spoiled the community, in my opinion, and nothing really holds up to that. So I feel like if I want any survivability, I need a combination of 2 or 3 defensive mods to really make up for what we lost with emergency stance. And I'm not willing to sacrifice my DPS or clear times to do that. So in my mind, I am going to play, and I'm going to be as aggressive as I want, and the best defense is a strong offense. And I'm a firm believer in this. I do know that I can survive an absolute beat down. I know that I am not going to be one-shot by almost anything. When alphas jump on me, it takes about 2/3 of my health away, but I counter with a melee. It's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Somebody gets too close to you, melee them. Freeze them, kill them, get your health back, right back in the fight. And I do solos with this build. I do duos, trios. I run Eye of the Storm helps and carries. It's strong. I don't feel weak. I don't feel like I'm necessarily dying anymore either, because, again, when you get killed, you get erased. And there are other options, and keep in mind, this is with a perfect build. This is what you want to aim for. This is in-game option. When you have all the tier 3 mods, when you have all the pieces falling together, and they're all in the right spots, this is what I recommend for you to run. But if you are working on putting the build together, do not just go full DPS and ignore survivability, because you're going to probably need it. You're going to get frustrated. So another piece of advice for you guys is if you're working on putting these builds together, and you don't have all the things in the right spots, or you don't have all the tier 3 mods, please put on a defensive mod or 2. You might need 2 or 3, honestly. And my recommendations are mitigation from death. I think that's arguably the best option right now for you. I think that Perseverance Shield's not a bad one. And then a kind of safety net one like Ice Trap or Emergency Stance are still great. So personally, if I was going to put on defense, I'd put on 2 of them. And I'd put on mitigation from death and probably Ice Trap, personally. But again, any flexibility between those options could work for you. Recommend probably about 2 of those to be safe. And hopefully you can find a level of comfort that you used to find from Emergency Stance. Not guaranteed, but hopefully it makes a big difference for you guys. And that is my recommendation for you guys. This is my build. I feel strong without it. And ultimately, if you do get everything to fall together the way you're looking for it to, you can experiment, try it without any defensive mods, and see how strong you are. I do not recommend people running this with Dark Sacrifice. I know it's growing in popularity because it's stronger than Killing Spree. Some people play off the health drain as not a big deal, but it may not seem like a big deal when you're life and you're regenerating, but honestly, when you're killing so fast, you need that life steal to come back from poison enemies, and I just don't feel like I regenerate a lot of health. It does decent with sustain, but in just the right downtime, the right moment where I haven't killed a couple enemies and like an alpha or something jumps on me, I get slammed. I feel fairly confident with Dark Sacrifice against humanoids, but when I start fighting some of the beasts, it gets a lot trickier for me because there's a lot of insects, flying insects, poison flying at me, ranged options I really got to worry about, and I find that I die a lot more with Dark Sacrifice than I have in any other combination in the game, and that might just be me, but I'm not on the Dark Sacrifice wagon. I am still pro Killing Spree, or Fortress, or even Embalmer's Rage, right? Still great options. Not saying you can't do it. I feel like if I was going to run it, I feel like I have to compensate for its strength and add on more survivability, which I don't think I need. So I'm happy and I'm content with this, and this build isn't going to change unless they somehow tweak or alter the meta with an update in the future. So thanks again for clicking on this video. Hope it's found to be some sort of useful guide for you. But either way, thank you for your time. I'll catch you with another video soon. And remember to leave a like if you haven't yet. It really helps the channel get out there. And it means a lot to me if you could. So thanks again, everybody. Good luck out there. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below.